We started with 68 and we are down to just 4. The Elite 8 has wrapped up this weekend with 2 games on Saturday and 2 games on Sunday. I'll admit I'm a little sad that this tournament is quickly coming to a close. However, we had some great basketball played this weekend, so let's just dive right in. Game 1, UConn versus Illinois. This is one of the weirdest college basketball games I've seen in a while. With a minute and 23 seconds left to go in the first half, Illinois was tied with UConn 23-23. Both teams were struggling from the field, but Illinois was fighting. And then from that point on until 12:39 to go in the second half, Illinois would not score a point. That included 17 straight shots missed and UConn going on a 30-0 run. I think the craziest part about this one is that moments before this run took place, Brad Underwood, Illinois' coach, was getting interviewed in one of those mid-game interviews CBS likes to do, stating they're going to keep going at 7'2" big man for UConn, Donovan Clingan, and then that 30-0 run happens. Speaking of Clingan, he finished with 22 points on 9 for 13 from the field, 10 boards, and 5 blocks. He will be a lottery pick in the upcoming NBA draft. Evan Miyakawa has this thing called the kill shot that he talks about. It's where a team goes on a 10-0 run, and teams that accomplish kill shots win 81% of the time. Well, UConn's triple kill shot is the first in any D1 men's game in over 3 years, and for it to happen in the Elite 8 is pretty absurd. This makes back-to-back years where UConn has won by 25 plus points in the Elite 8. Illinois shot 25% from the field. Terrence Shannon Jr., probably the best offensive player in the tournament up until this point, struggled going 2 for 12 from the field. But I think the craziest part about this game is that UConn went 3 for 17 from 3. That's 17.5%. Now, it's not necessarily uncommon in the NCAA tournament for a team to shoot less than 20% from 3 and win. Matter of fact, it happens multiple times every year. But I was curious how many teams in tournament history have won by 25 while shooting less than 20% from 3. So I put that into StatHead, and this became just the 10th game in tournament history, the first since 2012, that a team has won by 25 plus while shooting less than 20% from the 3-point line. 7 of these 10 games came in the round of 64, aka the first round, and were against double-digit seeds. I'm talking 14, 15, 16 seeds. There's really only one other game in NCAA history that compares to this, and it was Utah in 1998 when they defeated Arizona 76-51 in the Elite 8. They went 2 for 10 from 3. This really is such an impressive win for UConn. They shot 28 for 43 from 2. And at this point, they're really giving me Kentucky 2015 vibes, where we just thought this team was unbeatable. But we all know what happened to Kentucky in the Final Four, which we'll get to later in this video. Per KenPom, UConn now has a plus 35.10 adjusted efficiency margin, which is one of the best efficiency margins of the last 25 years, with only 2021 Gonzaga, 2015 Kentucky, 2008 Kansas, 2001 Duke, and 1999 Duke being better. At this point, my only question I have for UConn is who is going to give this team a competitive game? Game 2 of the Elite 8 and the final game of the Saturday night slate, 4-seed Alabama versus 6-seed Clemson. Alabama is looking to make their first Final Four in program history, and meanwhile, Clemson is looking to make their first Final Four since 1980. Bama's big man, Grant Nelson, would pick up 2 quick fouls in this one, sending him to the bench early. And it was all Clemson early on, leading 26-13. The Tigers were dictating the flow like they usually do. It was a slower paced game. They weren't allowing Bama to get in transition much. Bama was also missing quite a few shots, going 1 for 13 through the first 14 minutes of the first half from 3, continuing the trend of Clemson opponents continuing to shoot poorly from 3 throughout this tournament. But after Jack Clark's 3 put Clemson up 26-13 with 7:56 to go in the half, Bama would go on a 16-2 run, finishing the half up 35, 32, and going 5 for 7 from 3 in those 6 minutes. This was just the second time this tournament I've seen Clemson give up the pace of play and lose control of a game, with the other time being Baylor making a comeback late in their second round matchup. Unfortunately for Clemson, the second half turned into a track meet. 104 points were scored total. Bama would win this one 89-82, and it was back and forth for most of the half, but Bama just did not miss, especially from 3. They were playing the style that they love to play, and it worked out for them. I think a great microcosm for how this half went was around the 7:47 minute mark when Joe Girard hit a 3, cutting Clemson's deficit to 3, 59-56. Within 10 seconds of that made 3, Rylan Griffin makes a 3 of his own, putting that lead back to 6. And then Girard hits another 3 for Clemson, putting it back to 3. And again, just 14 seconds later, Jaron Stevenson hits a 3. That has to be so demoralizing for a Clemson team, but this is what Bama loves to do to opponents. Jack Clark would make a layup, cutting the lead to 4 with 1:40 left, and Mark Sears hits this absolute dagger 3 with the shot clock counting down, giving Alabama a 7-point lead and securing their first ever Final Four appearance in school history, which is crazy to think about. I plan on doing a Final Four preview video that goes over the entire journey throughout the season and how each team has gotten to this point. So we'll stick to this game. Alabama shot the heck out of it from 3. And if you remember earlier, I said they started 1 for 13 from 3 and then went 5 for 7 to finish the half. Well, in the second half, they went 10 for 15. And if you're Clemson, you just can't be mad about that. Opponents were shooting awful from 3 in the tournament versus you. At some point, you're going to run into a team on a hot night. You have to figure out how to limit it. But I'm so impressed with Bama's speed. Obviously, this is their MO. This is how they've gotten here, but it's one thing to see it in a regular season game. It's another thing to see it in the Elite Eight, and they just let Clemson play right into their hands. For all my Bama fans out there that have watched me these past couple of videos, I apologize for doubting them. They are the real deal. I just never believed in that defense being outside the top 100 in KenPom. And speaking of defensive efficiency, it got me wondering, when was the last time a team with a defensive efficiency outside of the top 100 made the Final Four? So I did some digging on KenPom, and he has data going back to 1998. It's only happened 2 other times in 26 years. Last season, 2023, Miami, Florida, who, if you remember correctly, they were dead in the water versus Drake with only a couple minutes to go before Drake completely folded. And Dwayne Wade's number 3 seed Marquette in 2003. This is no diss on Bama, by the way. I'm giving them their props. They've actually played good defense in this tournament for the most part, and they've let their offense just supercharge everything. Game 3 of the Elite Eight, our first game on Easter Sunday, number 1 seed Purdue versus 2 seed Tennessee. This game had some awesome storylines as well. Purdue has not made the Final Four since 1980. Ironically, that 1980 Purdue team was also led by a dominant scoring big man in Joe Barry Carroll, who ended up being the first overall pick in the 1980 NBA draft. And then you have Tennessee, who is in their second ever Elite Eight appearance, first since 2010, looking for their first ever Final Four appearance. The player of the year in Zach Edey versus the presumed runner-up player of the year in Dalton Knecht. And I'll tell you what, these two did not disappoint. Knecht finished with 37 points and Edey had a career high 40. Both of them scored more than the rest of their team. This game was tight right up until about the 3-minute mark when Purdue slowly just pulled away by a couple possessions. Purdue would win 72-66, and like I said, Dalton Knecht literally did everything he could for this Tennessee team, but he got absolutely zero help on offense. Zakai Ziegler, their point guard, shot 3 for 12 from the field, including 1 for 8 from 3. And sure, you could say Dalton Knecht took a ton of shots. He only went 14 for 31 from the field, but he had to. Nobody else on that team can score. I'm sorry. Also, Tennessee fans, you gotta help me with this one. What is wrong with Jonas Aidoo? He played 10 minutes, over 4 from the field, had 3 fouls, could not defend, and just like the Sweet 16, he barely played. This was the lowest minutes he's played on the season, even including blowouts. And sure, you could say it's the Zach Edey effect, fine. But he was awful against Creighton and only played 17 minutes as well, including being benched down the stretch in crunch time. I don't know, guys. I really like Jonas Aidoo coming into this tournament. I'm not sure what happened. Dalton Knecht has a bright future in the NBA. I'm excited to see him at the next level, but honestly, he deserved better in this effort around him on the offensive end. Like I said earlier, Edey finished with a career high 40 points on 13 from 21 from the field, including 14 for 22 from the free throw line. I'll look up some more research in my Final Four preview video, but I'm pretty sure if he makes the national title, he has the chance at breaking the all-time NCAA Division I free throw attempt record in a season. He also had 16 boards. Fletcher Loyer was the only other Purdue Boilermaker in double figures in this game, and they shot an uncharacteristic 3 for 15 from 3, which is crazy because Purdue is second in the nation in three-point percentage at 40.6. I heard them say on the broadcast this is the first 1-2 matchup in the Elite Eight in 5 years. I find that very hard to be true, so let's fact check it really quick. All right, the broadcast was right. It was 2019 Duke, Zion Williamson's team playing number 2 seed Michigan State. What's crazy is before the 2020 tournament was canceled due to COVID, this was a regular occurrence. I mean, look at this. It's happened almost every year dating back to 2000 besides what? 2011? And then 2021, 2022, 2023, it doesn't happen. Anyways, again, the story with Edey as always is these fouls and whatever. I just don't care enough to talk about that. Game 4, number 4 seed Duke versus 11 seed NC State. I got a lot of people upset with my Duke take last video that I know did not watch my Sweet 16 preview because you would have heard how much I was glazing Duke. I'm always willing to admit when I'm wrong, but honestly, I think I was right on this one. NC State takes down Duke, making the Wolfpack the 6th 11 seed all time to make a Final Four, the first since Johnny Juzang carried UCLA in 2021. And I'm going to toot my own horn. I picked NC State, and yes, I'm proud of it. Not as much as my Clemson over Arizona in the Sweet 16, but nonetheless, let's get to this game. DJ Burns and DJ Horn, NC State's 2 star players, absolutely balled out. Big boy DJ Burns finished with 29 points on 13 for 19 from the field. Again, I said this in the Sweet 16. I did not think Filipowski could guard him, and he could not. Flip fouled out with a couple minutes left, finishing with 11 points on 3 for 12 from the field. And then point guard DJ Horn finished with 20. And they didn't really need much else. I mean, the role players for NC State were great as always. Diarra did not play as much as he usually does, but their backup Middlebrooks was great in this game. And then Marcel and O'Connell just did what they needed to do for the most part. But the craziest thing about this game is that NC State shot it awfully in the first half. They only scored 21 points. Thankfully, Duke only scored 27. And then the Wolfpack would go on to put up 55 points in the second half. They still didn't shoot it well from 3, but it did not matter. They beat Duke. Props to Jared McCain. He's my guy. Freshman for Duke. He's going to be a good player in the NBA. Scored 32 points on 8 for 20, 5 for 11 from 3, 11 for 11 from the free throw line. Jeremy Roach was the only other guy, in my opinion, that was decent. He did go 5 for 13 from the field, but he scored 13 points. I mentioned Filipowski already, but Tyrese Proctor had an awful game, going 0 for 9 from the field, putting up 0 points, and Duke got 2 points from their bench. They shot just 32.2% from the field, 25% from 3. This and one from DJ Burns late was absolutely hype. He was just making plays all second half, to be honest. In my Final Four preview, I plan to really dig into KenPom and figure out what NC State ranks in efficiency since they've been on this run. If you don't know, they finished the regular season 17-14 and went 2-7 in their final 9 games, then won 5 games in 5 days to win the ACC tournament, getting them into the tournament. They never would have been in it otherwise. And now here they are winning 4 straight games in March Madness, going to the Final Four. They'll face Purdue. We'll talk about that matchup in the Final Four preview, but this is just the 3rd time NC State has made it to the Final Four, with the other 2 appearances resulting in national titles, including the 1983 Jimmy V team that defeated Goliath in Houston by Slamma Jamma with Clyde Drexler and Hakeem Olajuwon. It's highly unlikely, but if the Wolfpack can, number 1, upset Purdue and Zach Edey in the Final Four and then UConn, it would easily be the best Cinderella story ever. An 11 seed has never made the national title. It's never won a national title, obviously. The highest seed to win one is an 8 seed, 1985 Villanova. And then to knock off the National Player of the Year in Zach Edey in the Final Four and a historically great UConn team that is on a double-digit streak streak dating back to last year trying to defend a title. I don't know, guys. I think I'm all on the NC State bandwagon. Let's see if they can do it. If you enjoyed this video, your viewership means the world to me. If you have any suggestions ever, put them in the comments. I may start a Discord if that's something people are interested in. If you enjoyed this video, YouTube thinks you'll like this one as well. Thanks for watching, and as always, we'll see ya on the hardwood.